Over the years, I've tested a lot of lights on this channel, from budget options to high-end legends, and it always amazes me how different lights that look almost identical can perform worlds apart. Today's lineup is a perfect example of that. We've got the legendary Baja Designs LP6, proven in both consumer market and the racing world. Harbor Freight's roadshock 6, the budget pick that's been quietly building a following for the past year. The brand new Suparee Helm 7, fresh off release and ready to impress. And the Auxbeam V Ultra 7-inch, easily one of the best value lights in its class. On paper, and even just looking at them side by side, they share a lot of similarities. Same 6 to 7 inch round housing, comparable styling, and similar proportions. You'd think their beam patterns would be nearly the same too, right? But if there's one thing my testings have shown time and time again, it is that what truly matters is how much light they actually put out in the real world, not just what the spec sheet says. So in this video, I'll be testing them the same way I always do, measuring real lux numbers, checking amp draw, comparing their beam patterns on the garage door and out in the field, and showing you what they look like from the driver's seat. We'll also go over warranty, price, and extra features like backlighting to round things out. By the end, my goal is simple: to help you figure out not just which one shines brightest, but which one truly fits your needs out on the trails. Alright, let's start with the lux measurement. All 4 lights are aimed at the exact same height on the garage door, and each light is positioned the same distance away. Camera settings are completely locked for consistency, so what you're seeing here is a true demo of raw intensity and beam shape, no exposure tricks, no editing magics. This gives a clean and controlled way to see how each light actually performs before we take them out onto the field. At around 21 feet away from the garage door, the Suparee Helm 7's high beam mode is measured at almost 16,000 lux. The color temperature is around 5400 Kelvin. The low beam of Suparee Helm 7 is measured at 712 lux at 5900 Kelvin. The Baja Designs LP6 high beam is measured at 11,600 lux at 5000 Kelvin color temperature. Baja Designs LP6 low beam is measured at 936 lux at 5200 Kelvin. The Harbor Freight's roadshock 6 high beam is measured at 9400 lux at 5800 Kelvin. The Harbor Freight's low beam is measured at 315 lux at 5100 Kelvin. There is only one mode for Auxbeam V Ultra 7-inch, which is everything on. The lux is measured at 8100 lux at 6500 Kelvin. Just to get a baseline measurement, the lux measurement of the Morimoto XP Evo's low beam is 2900 lux at 5600 Kelvin. Now we're measuring the current draw. The Suparee Helm 7's low beam is measured at 6.68 amps. The high beam, which is everything on mode of the Suparee Helm 7, is measured at 8.87 amps. The Baja Designs LP6 low beam is measured at 4.32 amps. The high beam of the Baja Designs LP6 is measured at 8.06 amps. Harbor Freight roadshock 6 low beam measured at 6.35 amps. Harbor Freight's roadshock 6 high beam is measured at 9.69 amps. There is only one output mode of the Auxbeam V Ultra, and that is measured at 6.26 amps. Then I also measured the current draw for backlights. For Harbor Freight, the backlight is drawing around 0.19 amps, and Suparee Helm 7 is pulling 0.22 amps. Baja Designs LP6 is pulling 0.39 amps. Lastly, the Auxbeam is pulling 0.44 amps for the DRL or backlight function. Here is the shots compared side by side of each light's high beam. I'll put all the measurements in a table and show you in a moment, but for now let's focus on the beam pattern. As I tested before, the Harbor Freight once again confirms that it has the widest beam width. See, the tree to the right side of the picture is well illuminated. And Suparee Helm 7 has the second best beam width. The tree and the house behind it are slightly illuminated, but the resolutions are there. While the lights from the Baja designs with the Auxbeam don't quite get to that tree. The center hotspot of Baja design is pretty strong and the largest in size, followed by Suparee Helm 7 with the strongest lux number at slightly smaller hotspot compared with LP6. Harbor Freight's roadshock 6 center hotspot is even smaller than the Suparee Helm 7 and slightly lower in terms of the lux number. The Auxbeam's V Ultra center hotspot is bigger in size, however just a tad lower lux number compared with the Harbor Freight. Now we have the low beams of each light. Due to Auxbeam doesn't have the low beam function, I'm including the low beam of my Toyota Tacoma's Morimoto XB Evo for reference. Baja Design's LP6 has the highest lux measurement, however that high lux area is just within that smaller rectangular shape in the middle, and the intensity drops outside of that box. Suparee's Helm 7 has the second highest lux number for the low beam, and that 712 lux is maintained throughout a much wider area. Harbor Freight's roadshock 6 low beam is a much narrower and much wider beam compared to the others, and there's a distinct dark area above and below the center low beam. Now let's come to the field. The lights being turned on are labeled on the top right corner of the screen. The tree line to the end of the field is around 400 yards away. Here is how I measured it. I used an off-road mapping app called Onyx Off-Road. In this app, I just simply zoom into the testing area. In the toolbar, there is a measuring distance option. I click on that, and then I click on my starting point, and then ending point at the tree lines down the trail, and it's giving you the distance 409 yards in the straight line. This is one of the most accurate way I could find measuring something on the map. They also have a very user-friendly app you can download from App Store. It gives you detailed trail maps over 650,000 miles of off-road trails, rated by difficulties, open-close status, and vehicle type. You can also download the maps for offline use, so even when there's zero service, which is basically every good camping spot, you still know exactly where you are. It shows public and private land boundaries, so you can explore confidently without worrying about trespassing. If you want to check out Onyx Off-Road, please use my link in the description below for a free trial or a 20% discount on your membership. It really makes exploring a lot easier and it helps support the channel. Alright, now let's get back to the comparison. There are 4 areas I want you to focus on. One is the 400-yard tree line, right here. One is the 250-yard soccer goals, right here. The other area to focus on is right here, 60 yards in front of the vehicle. Lastly, I want you to focus on these 2 poles to show the beam width. So what we're seeing now is the Suparee Helm 7's high beam. It's got a very wide beam width, from 60 yards to almost all the way to 200 yards, right here. The 2 poles on the side are also illuminated pretty well. Alright, now is the Harbor Freight's roadshock 6 high beam. I can tell immediately from the vehicle to the 40-yard line, the roadshock 6 has a much wider angle illumination. However, past that 60-yard line to almost all the way down the field, Suparee is still wider. Switching back to Suparee for reference. Now back to Harbor Freight. Now let's look at Baja Design's LP6. This is the high beam, which is everything on mode. Compared to the Harbor Freight roadshock 6, the Baja Designs has less coverage in terms of width on the ground, from 0 to about 50 yards away from the vehicle. After that, from 60 to all the way to 400 yards away, Baja Designs LP6 has a wider beam illumination path. But is it wider than the Suparee Helm 7? Let's see. From this back-to-back, I can see that from 40 yards to around 200 yards, Suparee Helm 7 has a much wider illumination compared to the Baja Designs. However, after 200 yards, all the way to 400-yard tree line, Baja Designs has that beam path maintained further, which becomes wider than the Suparee's. The side illumination of Auxbeam's V Ultra is identical to the Harbor Freight's, extremely wide from 0 to 40 yards away, and the center main beam has about the same width with Baja Designs, with a little less brightness. Switching back to Harbor Freight for reference. The difference between the 2 are minimal. From what I can tell is that Harbor Freight maintains that beam width maybe from 40 to 100 yards. However, the Auxbeam still has the edge in terms of the center beam width, which is maintained and even got wider down the field, from 100 to 400 yards. Now I'm going to flick between 4 lights so that you have a back-to-back visual reference. Here is a different angle of the 4 lights. I want you to focus on this point on the right side of the field, probably about 300 yards away. Suparee Helm 7 is the only one that's able to illuminate that area, for whatever it's worth. Alright, I've never had this angle before. Now I fly the drone all the way to 400-yard tree line to show you what's happening at that distance. At this distance in this frame, I think it's almost a tie between Suparee Helm 7 and Baja Design's LP6. Baja Design's LP6 has a wider center beam, however, the Suparee Helm 7 has a further outer field illumination seen right here. As observed earlier, Harbor Freight's roadshock 6 doesn't really excel at 400 yards compared to the other 3 lights. And here what's the Auxbeam V Ultra looks like, with decent beam width down the range at 400 yards. Here is a shot from overhead back to back. Here's a back-to-back visual comparison of the low beam from 3 lights. Alright, now we're in the middle of the road. I have the XP Evo's low beam. I'll park right here. And this is XP Evo's high beam. Low beam. Suparee, Baja Designs, roadshock, Harbor Freight, Auxbeam. Okay, now zoomed out to 13mm. High beam. Suparee, Baja Designs, Harbor Freight, Auxbeam. So I just want to show you the beam width of a certain scenario here. See here, there's a structure to the right side you can't see even with the high beam on. Hard to see. Suparee, you can barely see that over there. Baja Designs, Harbor Freight, Auxbeam. Suparee, Baja Designs, Harbor Freight, Auxbeam. Low beam, high beam. The Suparee Helm 7 is priced at $430 for a pair and offers a 1-year warranty. Baja Design's LP6 is priced at $1,050 per pair and offers a lifetime warranty. Harbor Freight's roadshock 6 is priced at $320 a pair and they offer a 90 days warranty. Auxbeam V Ultra comes in at around $260 a pair, offers a 2 years warranty. Alright, so here's the data summarized in a chart. The blue bar is showing the lux measurement, and the orange dot is showing the power consumption in watts. I'm just going to leave the data here for 10 seconds so you can read it. So after running all the numbers and seeing these beams side by side, it's pretty clear that there isn't really a best or worst light here. It really comes down to what you value the most. If money isn't a concern, the Baja Design's LP6 still stands tall as one of the best lights you can buy. Its performance is strong, its build quality is proven, and the lifetime warranty genuinely sets it apart from most other brands. But at over $1,000 for a pair, you're paying almost 5 times what some of the other lights cost. That's a serious investment. Now if you're working with a budget, the other 3 lights absolutely hold their own. The Auxbeam V Ultra 7-inch continues to be one of the best bang for the buck options out there. Solid output, great beam shape, and plenty of features at a price that's hard to argue with. Harbor Freight's roadshock 6 sits in a similar price range, slightly higher, but it brings its own twist. A slightly warmer color temperature and a very wide low beam spreads almost 180 degrees, which can be really useful. And then there's the Suparee Helm 7. Performance-wise, it feels like it's right in between of the roadshock 6 and the Baja Design's LP6. It's got the white coverage like the roadshock 6, but with a noticeably stronger center beam that gets surprisingly close to what the LP6 center beam puts out. So at the end of the day, the right light really depends on what you're after: performance, warranty, features, or value. And that's exactly why I do these kind of tests, to give you the real-world data and visualization of the lights, so you can decide what fits your needs the best. If you enjoyed this one, definitely check out my Baja Design's DOT LP6 versus Morimoto XP Evo headlight comparison. It's a deep dive into how a top-tier DOT pod stacks up against a full headlight system. And as always, thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next one.